I definitely don't think that too much you can do too much. I mean, we talked to a guy who's probably doing $1 million a year or something like that, and he's getting people onto strategy sessions and emailing them 2 or 3 times a day. So I do think that's a little aggressive. So number one, I think emailing more today is key, right? Because we have a chance to impact people to a great extent when we're emailing them a lot. And why do we want to do that? Well, because a lot of people are you have to treat email as like the new direct mail almost. So, this is an Inc. magazine. Again, we could do a whole nother episode on bad magazine ads that are in these magazines. But imagine if this only came like once a month, which is usually what's happening with magazines. Okay, so they come once a month. I bought this at the airport, but it usually comes once a month. Okay. By the way, before we get into it, if you would like to get a crash course in how to craft emails that convert, especially in the subject lines, because the more people you get to open your emails, the better off your conversions will be, right? Because that's the name of the game is, did they open the email? Okay. Readability is a whole nother thing. One of my clients is doing about, she'll probably do 15 million this year, and I still can't read her emails, right? So I was like, well, we need to bump the font up, right, to like a 15 or a 17, because what happens, especially with Infusionsoft, is the font is like 10, right? And so there's no, you do all that work and then they can't read it. They have to like squint to read the copy. If the copy's hard to read, like if it's in italics, if it's a weird font, if it's not like Arial, Helvetica, Georgia, Verdana, if it's not in these really easy to read fonts and it's italicized and it's small, then you might as well just not have written the email, okay? Because readability is key, but they can't read it if they can't open it. So if you want to get a crash course on this, go to chilesemail.com. Again, that's chilesemail.com is the domain name. Okay, chilesemail.com. The first thing you need to understand about email is that email is all about getting attention, right? So if we were to go in here and share the screen really quickly. So email is all about getting the attention of your market. If you look at any of these stories on here, it's all about, and then you see this like most popular, okay, something that's very important. And that is if they aren't curious enough to read what it is that you have to say, like they're never going to click the article if you don't entice them to click, okay? And they're never going to open the email if you don't entice them to click. And they're never going to read your Facebook post if you don't entice them to click. Okay, so I hope this is resonating with you, that your headline, David Ogilvy was right. When you've put your headline together, you've done 80% you spent 80% of your dollar. You spent 80% of your dollar when you put the headline together. Okay, and the headline here is basically, hey, if you want to kill someone, we're the guys to do it, right? And that's something you would never really think about or hear. And so that in itself is pretty shocking, right? It's like, who are these guys? What's going on? Why are they writing about this? Again, you can kind of see it goes through. Here's some other articles, but the whole goal here is to get you reading this long form article. Okay. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by this first sentence. And so usually what happens is we start with, it's sort of like songwriting. We start with an idea of hey, we have this idea. We have this idea that we want them to click, or right. We're going to write about this subject, right? So hiring assassins. And then they take that idea and they frame it in a way that makes it clickable. Okay. Because again, if they're not opening up your emails, if they're not opening up your emails, if they're not opening up if they're not reading any of your sales messages, If they're not reading the first part of the Facebook ad, then they're not gonna buy. A lot of times, what happens is people will come to me with their emails and say, "Why are my emails underperforming?" Right? But the reason is because when you're writing about the same thing every day, like emailing every day is fine. Even and so, if you really want to convert at the highest levels, you have to remember that they don't remember the last email that you sent. They get 200 emails a day. They got J. Crew and Fox and CNN and donations coming in from the politicians, and they've got their work friends and all this stuff, right? So, well, what happens? Okay, well, what happens is your stuff gets lost in that sea. And so, emailing multiple times per day isn't a bad way to go, but you have to not just write about the same thing. Like, so if I was going to write about like email marketing, I'm not going to have every email say increase your email opens or how to write an effective email. I'm going to go the opposite way. So they're ultra curious and they're not even aware that I'm writing about how to write emails. Okay. To not only triple your open rates, but have people hang on to every word that you write as well. Increase your desire, increase your curiosity and mystery, lower doubt and skepticism, and make those sales. All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.